The Shushing Spell by David Aro. Logan made room on the shelf in his closet for the unicorn horn, a birch tree branch he found in the yard and jarred. He organized all his magical ingredients in alphabetical order, from bee poison, mustard seeds he ground using his mortar and pestle, to worms. To be a proper magician, he needed to collect at least one ingredient for each letter of the alphabet. Some letters were harder to find than others, like A. Logan did find a fancy word for spider that started with an A, arachna something, but he wanted to find ingredients he could actually say. Other letters, like Z, seemed impossible. Logan's older sister, Sadie, barged into his room, despite the locked door. It wasn't difficult for her to pick the push lock with one of her bobby pins. He was so focused on building his magic workshop, Logan was startled by the door banging into the wall. He bumped the black cat Whiskers, pipe cleaners, with the back of his hand, and they tipped and knocked over an entire shelf of ingredients. "Get out of my room!" Logan yelled as he tried to catch them. Sadie ignored Logan's demand and sat down on his bed. "No sense in getting all bent out of shape. You'll be the one in trouble if Mom hears you're yelling. Your door isn't supposed to be locked in the first place." Logan adjusted the magpie tongue, sunflower seeds, back between the lavender and newt eyes, black and gold marbles. He tried not to pay attention to his sister in hopes she would just leave him in peace. But she smacked her gum in her mouth so loud he couldn't even hear himself think. Logan backed out of his closet, shutting the doors to keep his sister's peering eyes out of his business. "What do you want?" "It's not what I want." Sadie paused to blow a bubble. Logan wished he could cast a spell. With a flick of the wrist and pop the bubble all over her face. "It's about what you don't want," Sadie continued. "If you don't go downstairs and get me a glass of water, I'll tell Mom you stole my pen again to write in your dumb potion book." "My potion book is not dumb." Logan made fists at his sides. "And I'm busy." "Have it your way." Sadie took a deep breath with her big mouth wide open and screamed, "Mom!" "Fine," Logan agreed. Mom always took Sadie's side because she was older. Plus, giving her what she wanted was the only way to get her out of his room. But this time, it just so happened to work in his favor. The cold creeping up the glass as he filled her cup with ice sent chills into his hands, giving him a brilliant idea for a spell. Logan waited until his sister and Mom were both asleep before opening the doors to his magic workshop. He couldn't take any chances of being disturbed if his spell was going to work. He poured some squid ink, molasses, into an empty jar. With a pair of tweezers, he pulled out a single magpie tongue and mixed it in. Then he went downstairs and found one of Sadie's wallet-sized school photos and stuffed it into the jar. After closing the jar tight, he focused on his words, hoping the right ones would come to him. "Sadie is loud and always in my way. This all comes to an end today. Her tongue will freeze with this shushing spell, making her unable to speak or yell." Logan repeated the spell 3 times and hid the jar in the back of the freezer. He then snuck back into his room and drifted off into the sweet, silent sound of success. The next day, Logan's mom made him a sandwich before she left for the store. "Sadie's in charge when I'm gone," she said. Sadie was still in bed. which was fine by Logan. He ate his sandwich in silence before heading back to his magic workshop. Logan pulled out his potion book and added the unicorn horn to his list of ingredients. He still needed to find 6 more letters of magical ingredients, A, E, O, S, V, and Z, to complete his workshop. He looked through all his books and wandered around the yard. He found helicopters from the maple tree, a few insects crawling around the mulch, but nothing potion-worthy. When he searched the kitchen drawer of herbs, the freezer kicked on. His sister was always so loud he never noticed its light hum before. Of course, if he silenced his sister with a spell, he could create one to make the remaining 6 ingredients he needed appear. Logan rushed back to his workshop. He made a giant circle on the floor with all his ingredients and placed 6 empty containers in the middle. He knelt beside the circle with his potions book. With it so quiet, he scribbled down 3 spell variations in a matter of minutes. He looked everything over one last time to make sure things were evenly spaced. When satisfied, he raised his hands in the air and said the spell he liked best. Let these words plant the seed for the 6 remaining ingredients I need. A, E, O, S, V, and Z. Give them all to me! Logan waited on his toes for something to happen. When nothing did, he repeated the spell over and over. He said it in a whisper, and then in as deep a voice as he could. Suddenly, the floor rumbled. The dresser drawers shook open, and wind blew through the windows and knocked over the 6 containers in the middle of the circle. They spun on their sides and lifted in the air like a tornado. The powerful gusts blew Logan on his backside. He froze as things shot out of the 6 once empty bottles. Angel wings floated up and flapped in the air, causing the bottles to spin faster and faster. Snail slime oozed all over the room, holding Logan to the floor like glue. Eagle talons clawed across the floor, their nails scraping a high screech as they moved. A stench so bad seeped through the room, it made Logan's sandwich do somersaults in his stomach. He had never smelled something so awful before, and the only thought that came to mind of what it could be was zombie breath. Sadie pushed open the door to Logan's room. It was the first time he was happy to see her come into his room uninvited. "Help!" Logan shouted. Vines emerged from one of the jars and wrapped around his wrists and ankles. Sadie frantically shook her hands in the air like she was trying to say something. When no words came out, she held her hand over her throat. "Get me my potion book," he said. Octopus arms flopped across the room and blocked Sadie's path to him. Without his book, he couldn't read the spells. Sadie would have to do it. But she couldn't talk. The shushing spell had worked too well. Logan squirmed from side to side, dodging octopus arms, leaping towards his face. "In the back of the freezer is a container with your picture in it. Take it out and unthaw it as quick as you can." That's all Logan could spit out before one of the arms suctioned over his mouth. Sadie rushed out of the room and returned with the container and her blow dryer. It was taking too long, but as she held her blow dryer up to the container on high, her voice slowly returned. "What next?" she spit out. Logan fought against the live ingredients holding him down, and his sister flipped through his book, trying to find a spell. When Sadie couldn't find one that made sense or make out Logan's muffled screams, she tossed the book to the side and looked up. "Even though my brother thinks he knows best and is always a pest, things will never be so grim when he has a big sis like me to look after him. I command thee to go back where you came from, so I can give my brother a giant kick in the bum." As soon as she finished her spell, the angel wings, snail slime, eagle talons, vines, and octopus arms disappeared in a poof. The zombie breath mostly vanished, but it was so strong it left an aroma that reminded him of the night he had horrible gas after eating too many barbecue beans with dinner. Logan gave his sister a rare hug. "Thank you for saving me," he said. "And I'm sorry for my shushing spell. It's just, sometimes it's hard to focus with you watching over me." Sadie looked her brother in the eyes. That's what big sisters do. They look out for their younger brothers. Even after casting a shushing spell on Sadie, she still helped him out. Maybe she wasn't as bad as he thought. "Want to help me clean up my room before Mom gets home?" "I already saved you once today," answered Sadie with a smile. "But after you clean up your room, I'd be happy to hang out." "Too bad we couldn't use magic to clean up my room," Logan said. He pushed one of his dresser drawers in. Sadie grabbed his hand to stop him. "Maybe if we worked together we could." They sat down in the middle of the room and opened the potion book to a blank page.